Welcome back, everybody, to the show. It is Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. We've got a lot to get to today, from rising international tensions to devastating tragedies, and even a little bit of satire along the way.
Yeah, it's certainly a packed news day reflecting, I think, kind of the complexities of the world we live in.
It really is. Let's kick things off with a story that's, well, frankly, raising eyebrows across the globe. Former President Donald Trump, newly reelected, is already stirring up quite a bit of controversy with his plans for, well, expanding U.S. territory.
His targets: Greenland, the Panama Canal, and believe it or not, Canada. And he hasn't ruled out using, let's just say, force, military or economic, to get what he wants.
He's justifying these ambitious acquisitions by saying they're crucial for U.S. economic and national security. Specifically, he's pointing to China's growing presence around Greenland and making the claim that China already controls the Panama Canal, which, for the record, is not true.
Not surprisingly, there's been some pretty strong pushback. Leaders in Canada, Denmark, and Panama have all come out swinging, rejecting any talk of giving up their territory. You've got Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau saying there's not a snowball's chance in hell Canada will join the U.S. And then you've got Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen emphasizing that Greenland belongs to the Greenlanders. Panama's president, meanwhile, has made it clear there is absolutely no Chinese interference in the canal.
And just to add another layer to this whole situation, we've got Donald Trump Jr. currently in Greenland.
Yeah.
Now, he's saying it's a personal trip, no official meetings planned, but, well, the timing is certainly interesting.
Yeah, definitely a situation to keep an eye on. It has the potential to really shake things up on the global stage.
Absolutely. All right, let's shift gears now to a, well, truly heartbreaking story. A major earthquake, magnitude 7.1, has hit a remote region in Tibet.
The latest reports are devastating. At least 126 people have been killed, another 188 injured. Over 3,000 buildings are damaged or completely destroyed, leaving many people homeless in the freezing temperatures.
Rescue workers are doing everything they can to reach those in need, but the harsh conditions and the aftershocks are making things incredibly difficult.
It's a tragic situation that really underscores the power of nature and how important international aid is in times like these.
Absolutely. Okay, now on to a story that's sending shockwaves through Silicon Valley and beyond. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, the company behind that game-changing ChatGPT, is facing some serious allegations of sexual abuse.
These allegations are coming from his own sister, Ann Altman. She's filed a lawsuit alleging years of abuse, and this started when she was just 3 years old.
The lawsuit includes some really disturbing claims of rape, painting a picture of alleged abuse that continued well into adulthood. Altman, along with his mother and his brothers, have vehemently denied these allegations, calling them utterly untrue, and suggesting that they stem from his sister's mental health challenges.
This is a story that's going to get a lot of attention as it unfolds. It raises some really critical questions about accountability and, of course, due process in these types of situations.
Without a doubt. On a bit of a more positive note, we have news of a release that's been celebrated around the world. Mubarak Bala, a prominent Nigerian atheist, has been freed from prison. He's been over 4 years behind bars on blasphemy charges.
His case was widely condemned by human rights groups, seen as a clear violation of freedom of expression. He was convicted over a Facebook post back in 2020 that was considered blasphemous.
While his release is being celebrated by free speech advocates, Bala has voiced concerns for his safety, given the sensitivities surrounding blasphemy in Nigeria.
It definitely highlights that ongoing tension that we see in so many places between freedom of expression and religious sensitivities.
Absolutely. Now to a story that has reignited the debate over the ethics of animal tourism. A Spanish tourist was killed by an elephant at a tourist attraction in Thailand.
It's a tragic incident that's really put the spotlight back on the safety and well-being of animals in Thailand's elephant tourism industry. Animal rights groups have been saying for a long time that activities like elephant bathing, they're stressful and potentially dangerous for the animals. And this incident, sadly, kind of reinforces those concerns.
It really does. It highlights the need to seriously re-examine safety regulations and animal welfare practices in the whole sector.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that we have to think about the ethical implications of, how we interact with animals, especially in the context of tourism.
Right. All right, now for a story about driverless cars and, well, a bit of a tech scare. A man in Arizona had a pretty terrifying experience when the Waymo taxi he was in, it started spinning in circles and he was trapped inside.
He couldn't get the car to stop, couldn't get any help, and because of this whole ordeal, he almost missed his flight. While thankfully he wasn't physically hurt, it definitely raises some red flags about the reliability and the safety protocols of these autonomous vehicles.
Yeah, I think it's going to fuel the debate about whether these cars need more robust backup systems, better emergency protocols, especially as we see more and more of them on the roads.
Definitely. It's a good reminder that, even with all the advancements in technology, we can't completely eliminate the possibility of things going wrong. Passenger safety has to be the top priority.
Absolutely. Now, turning our attention to the media landscape,
Hmm.
the Washington Post is making headlines, but not for the reasons you might think. They're laying off almost 100 employees. That's about 4% of their staff. They're citing financial struggles and, well, some internal turmoil.
Yeah, the paper's been hit with declining readership and revenue, which is a problem a lot of publications are facing in the digital age, right? But in this case, it seems like the situation's been made even worse by some tension between the owner, Jeff Bezos, and the editorial staff.
That's right. Bezos recently blocked an endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris, which caused a huge uproar and led to a wave of subscription cancellations. So it's really raising questions about editorial independence and, what happens when owners start meddling in news coverage.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance between business interests and journalistic integrity, which is a really crucial issue for the whole media industry.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, this next story is, well, a little different. It's a mix of serious and satirical. The mayor of Belcastro, a small village in Italy, has done something, well, pretty unusual to protest the state of their local healthcare system. He's basically banned residents from becoming seriously ill.
It's obviously not an actual ban, more like a satirical way to bring attention to the lack of resources and access to healthcare.
Yeah, and they have a real problem. The nearest emergency room is over 45 kilometers away.
Wow.
So it really highlights the challenges people face in getting proper medical care, especially in these more rural areas.
It's definitely a creative, if unconventional, way to shine a light on healthcare disparities.
It is. Okay, now let's talk about social media, because, as always, there's something brewing. This time, it's Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram. They're making a change to their content moderation policies, and it's sparking a lot of controversy.
What they're doing is they're getting rid of their independent fact-checking program. In its place, they're rolling out a community notes system. It's kind of similar to what we see on X.
Basically, it puts the responsibility on users to flag and evaluate the accuracy of posts. And as you can imagine, it's causing a lot of concern among people who worry about misinformation spreading even more rapidly.
Meta is saying this move is about promoting free expression and reducing censorship. But critics are arguing that it's going to lead to a surge in false and misleading content.
Yeah, it's a debate we've been having for a while now, right? What's the role of these social media platforms in fighting misinformation? And are user-driven systems really effective?
Right, and it's a conversation that's not going away anytime soon, especially as these platforms try to figure out how to balance free speech with, protecting people from harmful content.
Absolutely. All right, let's check in on the war in Ukraine. Russia is claiming victory in the battle for the strategically important town of Kharkiv. However, Ukraine is denying the claim.
If Russia's claim does turn out to be true, it would be a pretty significant win for them. It would open up a new route for them to attack Pokrovsk, which is a key logistical hub for Ukraine.
But as we know, information from the battlefield can be unreliable, and both sides have their own narratives they're trying to push.
Right. It just goes to show how difficult it is to get a clear picture of what's happening in a conflict zone and how much control both sides want over the information that gets out.
And finally, bringing things back stateside, we've got a fast-moving wildfire in Los Angeles that has forced thousands of people to evacuate their homes in the Pacific Palisades area.
Yeah, fueled by those strong Santa Ana winds, the fires spread really quickly, creating some pretty chaotic scenes as residents were scrambling to get out. Some people even had to abandon their cars because the traffic was so bad.
Yeah, and a number of celebrities, including James Woods and Steve Guttenberg, were among those impacted, which shows just how widespread these evacuations have been.
It's a stark reminder of the growing threat of wildfires, especially in areas that are prone to those dry conditions and strong winds. And of course, it underscores the incredible bravery of those firefighters on the front lines, risking their lives to protect communities.
Absolutely. Shifting our focus north of the border now, Canada's in the midst of a pretty heated debate over immigration.
Yeah, it's become a real flashpoint. There are growing concerns about the impact of rising immigration numbers, especially when it comes to things like housing affordability and other social issues.
And this played a big part in Justin Trudeau's resignation. He faced a lot of criticism for how he handled immigration policies.
Right, and with Donald Trump back in the White House, given his stance on immigration, it's likely to become even more contentious.
Speaking of Trump and social media, we've got Elon Musk, the owner of X, stirring things up in European politics, and not everyone's happy about it.
He's been pretty outspoken about his views on what's happening in Europe, particularly in Germany and the UK. He's even gone so far as to endorse certain political parties and criticize others.
And with elections coming up in some of these countries, some leaders are accusing him of, well, interfering.
Yeah, there's definitely been some pushback. I mean, you've got French President Emmanuel Macron expressing concern about Musk's influence, but then you've got others like Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni who seem more open to him, even talking about potential business deals with his companies.
It's a pretty interesting dynamic, right? Tech billionaires, social media, and global politics all colliding.
It really is. It makes you think about how much influence these individuals have and what role social media plays in shaping political discourse and ultimately elections.
Okay, let's turn now to a story that's both heartbreaking and inspiring. It's about a mother's mission to tackle a health crisis in Nigeria.
It's a story that really highlights the challenges families face when dealing with cerebral palsy, which is a neurological disorder that's often caused by untreated neonatal jaundice.
At the heart of this story is Nonye Nuket, a single mother who founded the Cerebral Palsy Center in Lagos after her own daughter, Zimuzo, was diagnosed with the condition.
She's dedicated her life to caring for these children, and her story is just incredible. It's a testament to a mother's love and the power of advocating for those in need.
It also sheds light on the lack of resources and support for families facing these challenges in Nigeria, and that's where the Oscar Project comes in.
Yeah, the Oscar Project. It's named after a Vietnamese-born British disability advocate who, like Simuzo, developed cerebral palsy due to untreated jaundice. And they're doing amazing work in Nigeria, working to improve the diagnosis and treatment of neonatal jaundice.
They're providing equipment and training to healthcare workers with the goal of reaching thousands of mothers and children.
It's a really inspiring example of international collaboration to address a serious health issue and make a real difference in the lives of these vulnerable children.
Absolutely. And finally, we end our news roundup today by looking back at a tragic event that shook the world a decade ago.
It's hard to believe it's been 10 years since the jihadist attack on Charlie Hebdo, the French satirical weekly.
It was a horrific attack that took the lives of 12 people, including some of the publication's most well-known cartoonists. It really sent shockwaves through France and around the world.
And to mark the anniversary, Charlie Hebdo has released a special issue, reaffirming their commitment to satire and, showing that they haven't been silenced in the face of this tragedy.
It's a powerful reminder of the importance of freedom of expression and how humor can endure, even in the darkest of times.
It really did spark global conversations. I mean, about the limits of free speech, the dangers of extremism, and it also just, it made people think about solidarity and just the importance of resilience, when you're facing tragedies like that.
Yeah, it's a moment that continues to resonate even a decade later. It forces us to keep reflecting and having those tough conversations.
It does, and it's just one of many events that have shaped our world just in the last 24 hours.
It really is amazing how much can happen in just a day. We've covered so much ground today, from geopolitical tensions and those devastating natural disasters to, legal battles and acts of incredible courage and, reflections on past tragedies. It's a lot to take in.
It is, but it really does speak to just the complexity of our world and how quickly things can change. And, it underscores how important it is to stay informed, to be engaged, to, seek out different perspectives and really critically evaluate the information that's coming at us from all sides.
It really does. So as we wrap up our news roundup for today, what are your final thoughts? What's something that really stood out to you from all of these stories?
For me, it's a reminder that even amidst all the chaos and uncertainty, even with all the challenges we face, there's still hope. We see individuals like Nonye Week stepping up and making a real difference in their communities, organizations like the Oscar Project working tirelessly to improve lives, and publications like Charlie Hebdo refusing to be silenced. It's a reminder that even small actions can have a ripple effect, and that, in a world that can often feel so overwhelming, that spark of hope is what keeps us going.
So well said. And on that note, that's our show for today. Thanks for joining us for this Daily News Roundup. We'll be back tomorrow with more stories from around the globe. Until then, stay informed and stay engaged.